Sherry Winston, and this is Uncorked. Welcome back. if you if you're new here, then welcome. For those of you who aren't new, I've been away for a few weeks. I had some bookish things to attend, so I've been busy, but I haven't forgotten about you, and I haven't forgotten about what we're doing here, talking about books. Uh, Today, I'm going to talk about books that I want to read that are going to be released in the coming months, and then one way later in the fall, or yeah, early winter, I guess. But for us today, it's all books all the time, and I'm going to talk about some books that are coming out. Oh, I'm so excited! I'm ready if you are. So here we go. So Louise Penny, who is another author that I'm crazy about. She has a new book that was due out May 7th. It's called The Last Mandarin. And I'm going to read you a little bit of the blurb. A mother and daughter race against time in an all too real thriller that reaches from Tiananmen Square all the way to the White House. Alice Lee, a first generation Chinese American and a former food blogger, has long lived in the shadow of her mother, Vivian Lee, a Tiananmen Square dissident turned world renowned human rights activist and passionate advocate for a free and democratic China. Imagine growing up with a mom like that. You can't compete with that. What are you going to do? I don't know. It might be a little crushing. Anyway, when security and fire alarms go off simultaneously all around the world, setting off a panic, the signal is traced back to China. As world leaders scramble to respond, Vivian and Alice are called to the White House in hopes Madame Lee can interpret the Chinese intentions. But why involve Alice? In a world ruled by power, even family can be a weapon. Ooh. So that sounds awesome. And it would be the first novel that I've read by Louise Penny that did not involve the Gamache series in Three Pines. So I'm really looking forward to that. I really want to see what she does outside of that community she's built in Three Pines. So the next book that is coming out. It's not due until September 10th. And it is my old friend, Stephanie Plum. Janet Evanovich's newest Stephanie Plum novel will be released on November 10th. Um, in a now or never moment, Stephanie Plum made the decision of a lifetime, but some lifetimes are shorter than others. And Stephanie will be lucky if she makes it to the end of the week. Mm-mm-mm. Stephanie, for those of you who may never have read the series, Stephanie Plum is a struggling, down on her luck bounty hunter who is constantly one skip away from being evicted from her apartment. So she's grinding all the time, but she also has been the centerpiece of a love triangle between her hot Trenton cop boyfriend Joe Morelli and her sexy secretive super soldier ranger Carlos Manoso. And in the last book, Stephanie finally made a decision. So I'm not going to say anything if you haven't read it, but if you want to read this one, normally I say a lot of these her books you can read them uh, as standalones because they're just goofy and that's just how they are. But because because Stephanie made a big decision in the last book, and she actually chose one of these guys that she's been dragging along for 30 some odd books. um, this is the first book after her making that decision. So I can't wait. I want to see what life is like for a what does a married Stephanie look like, and how does she make that work in the realm of her job and what she's doing. So I can't wait. I cannot wait. John Grisham has a book coming out called The French Illusion, and it is due out September 29th. The information I had said it was coming out in May. Okay, well, we all know that the internet wouldn't lie. So, in this book, after Paul and Chelsea Tanner's fairy tale wedding, their future is full of promise. But their honeymoon to Paris takes a dark, shocking turn when they are kidnapped while on a day trip to the French countryside. Ooh, who would target them and why? It turns out this is not the first crime of its kind. The search for clues soon stretches across borders, with the FBI, CIA, and French intelligence trying to work together to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Struggling to find answers, a young lawyer is recruited to be the bait in an elaborate CIA operation. Sounds interesting. I haven't read John Grisham in years, and I am really excited. I mean, I've always thought of him as just a masterful storyteller. And really, the only reason I haven't read him in years is because I read him so much when when everything was jumping off for him, that I felt like a stalker waiting in the store for the man's books to come out. Like I'm fiending for the next book. Oh, I gotta have it. I gotta have that new John Grisham. So, so it'll be good to be reintroduced to his world and his writing, and I can't wait. Now, this book is coming out on May 7th. It's called Hidden Lies, and it's by Vivica Stein. And Vivica Stein writes a, a bunch of books. She has another series. I can't think of the name right now, um, where it's in the archipelago. I always say that wrong, that word wrong. But it's in, I want to say, Sweden. If you're a Vivica Stein fan, and that's the wrong country, please feel free in the comments to gently educate me. I'm not discounting her heritage on purpose, but I think she's Swedish. But anyway, I love her books. I love all the ways that I learn about her culture, if not her country, since I'm blanking out on that at the moment. But I enjoy them. As I've said over and over, I have a thing for winter settings, and I read a book of hers recently, back over Christmas. That was just, it was just giving all the Christmas, all the snow time vibes. So perhaps after I read this one, which I'm pretty sure this one takes no, it's there's a skiing party. So let me tell you what this one is about. This is what it says. On a Friday in RA, 6 university students arrive for a week of skiing and partying. By Sunday morning, only 5 are alive. The body of their friend Philippa is found in the brutally cold outdoors, showing no signs of assault. It's as if the barefoot young woman just curled up in a snowdrift to die. It appears to be a tragic misfortune, and Detective Inspectors Hannah Allhander and David Linskog, both at turning points in their personal lives, aren't anxious to get involved. But Hannah can't ignore her gut instinct. One by one, the friends are pitted against each other. Another crime rocks the resort. For Hannah and Daniel, it's a race against time to separate the truth from the lies. before someone else dies. Now that sounds great. I can't wait. Let's see, yeah, May 7th. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And that one is going to be available on Kindle Unlimited. So if you are a KU subscriber, this one's definitely for you. The next book on my books I want to read list is Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. And this book has already been released. Now, I will just go ahead and admit I've never read an Alice Feeney book. So if you have, I know that I see all the stuff online. There's a lot of division in thought on Miss Alice Feeney and her books. I'm reading the paperback copy of Rock Paper Scissors, but I I don't have a copy of Beautiful Ugly yet. So I don't know if I'm going to buy the hardback or if I'm going to download it on my Kindle, on my iPad. But I don't know. I'm just very curious about her because so many people have so many really strong feelings about her one way or the other. So if you are a fan or not so much of a fan, if you've read Beautiful Ugly, please, please, please let me know in the comments what you thought about it and whether or not it's worth my time because I'd really like to know. But for those of you who've never heard of it, uh, author Grady Green is having the worst, best day of his life. Grady calls his wife to share some exciting news as she is driving home. He hears Abby slam on the brakes, get out of the car, then nothing. When he eventually finds her car by the cliff edge, the headlights are on, the driver door is open, her phone is still here, but his wife has disappeared. Whew. A year later, Grady is still overcome with grief and desperate to know what happened to Abby. He can't sleep, he can't write, he travels to a tiny Scottish island to try to get his life back on track. Then he sees the impossible, a woman who looks exactly like his missing wife. Oh man. Wives think their husbands will change, but they don't. Husbands think their wives won't change, but they do. So, I don't know. What do we think about that? Are we excited about Alice Feeney or are we not? So I don't know. I'm excited to find out what you guys have to say about these books and any books. I would love to have a dialogue with you. I would love to talk with you about all things books. I'm going to try my best to do 2 videos a week so that I can have a video that is just dedicated to books I've read and books I love. And I will still be talking about the books that are informing me, what other books I've read in the last few weeks or months that are also playing a role in my decision making in terms of how to set my book up and how to launch it. And as I said, if you are on that book writing journey and you have questions and um, you want some guidance, you want some encouragement, just let me know in the comments, and I'd be glad to offer my 2 cents. So many people help me along the way. Helping you is the least I could do. And I mean that with my whole heart. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. I love spending this time with you. This has been so much fun. Well, I guess I'm done. See you at the bookstore. Bye, babies.